They say he was born a dictator, but that's a lie. History told you to make it simple. He wasn't born a tyrant, he was born an artist. A kid with a dream, a pencil, and a hunger to create beauty. But what happens when the world spits on your dream? When every door you knock on stays shut? When the very system you trusted, the teachers, the judges, the elites, tell you you're worthless? He faced rejection after rejection, humiliation that burns deeper than fire. He was mocked, ignored, left to starve, not because he wasn't good enough, but because the world decided he didn't fit. And here's the ugly truth no one wants to admit. When you crush a man's dream long enough, when you strip away his hope, when you laugh while he suffers, you don't get a harmless failure. You create something far more dangerous. You create a man who has nothing left to lose. A man who trades a paintbrush for power, a canvas for conquest, and a dream for destruction. He didn't just wake up one day and decide to rule. He was forced into it, forged by rejection, tempered by rage, and unleashed by a system that broke him first. And whether you love him or hate him, you cannot deny this. He was not simply born evil, he was built by society, by humiliation, by the same machine that wanted him to stay small. Hitler's story didn't start with war, it started with failure. A boy who wanted to paint was laughed at. A man who wanted to belong was rejected. He starved on cold streets, clutching his art that no one wanted to see. He was told he wasn't good enough, again and again and again, until those words carved themselves into his skull. Understand this. Rejection does two things. It either breaks you, or it forges you into something the world can't ignore. For Hitler, every slammed door became fuel. Every insult, every laugh, every rejection was gasoline poured on a fire that would one day burn the entire world. This is the part no one talks about. The dictator was born long before the war. He was forged in humiliation, in hunger, in endless nights of failure and rage. He wasn't born a monster. The world built him, brick by brick, insult by insult, door by door slammed in his face. And one day, the boy who wanted to paint stopped painting. He stopped begging for a place in the world that rejected him. He decided to build a world of his own and make everyone else live in it, or die. This is the uncomfortable truth no one wants to face. When you crush a man's dreams, when you laugh at his pain, when you push him into the dark long enough, you risk creating something worse than a monster. You risk creating someone who no longer plays by the rules of mercy, morality, or forgiveness. That's how dictators are made, not in palaces, but in alleyways, on starving nights, with a heart full of rage and a mind obsessed with rewriting reality. And then the world went to war. Not a war of glory, a slaughterhouse that chewed men to pieces and spat them out. He fought, he bled, he crawled through mud, soaked in blood, watched friends rot beside him, heard screams that never stopped ringing in his skull. And when the guns finally went silent, there was no victory parade, no medals, no homecoming, just a country kneeling in the dirt, starving, humiliated, its pride gutted. The men came home broken, the streets reeked of despair, and the ones in power kept smiling as the people starved. And something inside him snapped. This wasn't just rage, this was resurrection. A man reforged in the flames of loss, rejection, and betrayal. He was no longer just a failed artist. He was an instrument of vengeance. The world had mocked him, spit on him, crushed him beneath its boot, and in that moment he made a vow. He would never kneel again. He would never be powerless again. He would make the whole world choke on the name they once laughed at. Because when you strip a man of everything, his dreams, his dignity, his hope, you either leave behind a corpse or you create a monster. And this monster was coming for the throne. And in that brokenness, a monster was born. Because pain is the most honest sculptor in existence. It doesn't politely knock, it crushes you. It rips your identity apart piece by piece. It shatters every illusion you once held dear, tears your dreams into scraps, and throws you face first into the cold, merciless reality. No one is coming to save you. Pain does two things. It either kills you, makes you another forgotten name, rotting in the graveyard of wasted potential, or it forges you into something that can no longer be ignored. Because a man who has been broken, truly, completely broken, and still crawls back to his feet, is no longer just a man. He becomes something else, something primal, something dangerous. You can't manipulate him. because he's seen the truth. You can't scare him, because he's already danced with death in the dark. You can't stop him, because there's nothing left you can take from him. This is where monsters are born, not in palaces, not in power, not in glory, but in the silence after life has stripped you of everything. When such a man rises, he doesn't rise politely. He doesn't ask for a seat at the table. He doesn't wait for permission. He flips the table. He builds his own. He takes what he was denied, and he makes the world kneel. That's the part no one wants to admit. The most dangerous man alive is the one who has already lost everything, because now, the only thing left for him to do is rewrite the world with his own blood. Hitler didn't just rise, he became the scream of a generation. A man the world laughed at, rejected, humiliated, until the laughter carved a hole so deep in his soul that only fire could fill it. He was born to be an artist, but the system slammed every door in his face. And when a man is denied his purpose long enough, he doesn't disappear. He mutates. He becomes something the world can no longer ignore. When the world tried to silence him, he didn't whisper, he roared. He became the voice of millions who felt invisible, crushed, stripped of dignity. That voice turned into an army. That army turned into a storm. And that storm didn't just shake the world, it set it on fire. Understand this, history isn't written by the polite. It's written by those who turn rejection into rage, humiliation into hunger, pain into power. It's written by those who refuse to stay on their knees and instead stand so tall the world is forced to notice. But here's the razor's edge that power can build, or it can burn. It can create a renaissance, or a nightmare. It can free the world, or enslave it. And you, yes, you carry the same choice inside you. Every failure you've faced, every time you've been ignored, laughed at, rejected, it's either fuel or poison. It can rot you into nothing, another ghost wandering through life, or it can forge you into something the world will never forget. The system will try to crush you, just like it crushed him. But you choose what comes next. Do you fade away quietly? Or do you rise, take your pain, and become the storm that rewrites history, your history? This is not about sympathy. This is about a warning. A man who wanted to paint was mocked. A man who wanted to create was rejected. A man who wanted to belong was humiliated. And when the world laughed at him, when the system shut every door in his face, when society crushed him under its boot, it didn't kill him. It forged him. It turned the artist into a soldier, the dreamer into a monster. The boy who once held a brush picked up a gun instead. And here's the brutal truth nobody wants to face. Every time you reject, humiliate, and discard someone, you are playing God with their destiny. You are gambling with what they might become. Because pain doesn't just break people, it builds them. Sometimes into saints, sometimes into nightmares. And the system didn't just create a dictator, it created the perfect weapon of its own destruction. This isn't about Adolf Hitler. This is about you, about how many people are right now being shaped, bent, and broken by this same system, and how many of them will come back, not as victims, but as the storm that burns everything down. So here's the brutal truth. Every time society laughs at a man's pain, every time it starves a generation of hope, every time it crushes a dream and spits on ambition, it isn't killing the man, it's forging something far more dangerous. It's creating a fire that can burn the world. A man stripped of dignity doesn't just break, he mutates. He becomes hunger. He becomes rage. He becomes the storm no one saw coming. You think you can humiliate someone forever, and they'll stay quiet? You think you can keep a generation on their knees without consequence? History has proven it again and again. Every tyrant, every dictator, every so-called monster was first a broken man ignored by the world. The most dangerous man is the one who's been pushed too far, because he no longer fears death. He no longer fears the system. He only fears dying without making them pay. So remember this. Every time you choose to stay blind, every time you laugh at the man who's trying, every time you kneel to a system that's choking you, you are helping build the next monster. And when he rises, he won't just take revenge on those who hurt him. He will take revenge on the world that allowed it to happen. If you think this can't happen again, you're already asleep. History doesn't just repeat, it reloads. Every empire that burned was rebuilt on the ashes of the last one. Every tyrant that fell left behind the blueprint for the next. And look around. Censorship, propaganda, division, blind obedience. It's all here again. Different faces, different flags, same damn playbook. The most dangerous people aren't the ones holding guns. They're the ones holding microphones, cameras, and screens, feeding you lies so sweet you swallow your own freedom with a smile. You think dictators come with mustaches and speeches? No, they come wearing suits, smiling on your phone screen, telling you it's for your own good. If you still think it can't happen again, you're not just asleep. You're exactly what the system needs. A silent, obedient spectator while the world burns again.